when we truly do this work, we actually see in real time, in real life, what everyone says, which is that your external world, your external reality is a reflection of your internal world. And so if you have all these internal needs that aren't met, you can bet that you're going to be wanting and craving and chasing and seeking endlessly. There are multiple timelines we can live on. One, maybe you get a lot of the things that you want, but you never actually feel present or fulfilled or grateful for extended periods of time. Two, higher timeline, you start to learn how to meet your own needs and you actually start to feel safe enough to be present and joyful and to actually start receiving in your life because you've let go of attachment. You can flip your reality to a different timeline in a split second by saying, hey, my ego's taking over. Let me take a breath. Let me reconnect to myself and decide that I want to be the one in charge of my life, not my ego, not my wounded self, not the one protecting me from feeling my pain. I'm ready to really open my heart up to life again. Hi, my loves. Welcome back to my YouTube channel and welcome back to my podcast if you're listening on there. For those of you who are new here, my name is Michaela. I'm a hypnotherapist and spiritual mentor, and I am so incredibly passionate about sharing ideas and things that are going on in my own personal healing and awakening journey to hopefully help you feel a little bit less alone on yours. And if anything that I say can provide you with a little bit of relief, a little bit more self-love and acceptance, then I know my job here is done. So today I actually want to dive into a topic that a subscriber asked me a question about. So the question is, sometimes a few desires we have are so strong that we can't focus on anything else until they are fulfilled. Our mind constantly thinks about that one desire, and how can we overcome that? So this led me to really want to break apart the difference between wants, desires, and needs, because they're kind of interchangeable, and sometimes we have certain wants that are actually covering up core needs that haven't been met. So let's talk about what is a want, what is a need, and then I'm going to bring you through the exact steps that I've been taking in my life to really free myself from that trap and cycle of constant wanting and attachment to my desires so that I can actually feel connected to myself and my purpose and magnetize what is truly meant for me, what will actually fulfill me in my life. And so I really want to share this with you because this has been so freeing for me. I was stuck on that cycle of wanting and trying to manifest more all the time. And I was never fulfilled. Even when I would manifest certain things, I never felt like I was stable or secure enough to actually keep them or feel deserving of them. And then there were certain things that no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't let go of attachment enough to be able to let those things pour into my life. And I'm not perfect with this, but I have seen tremendous progress in my life since taking these steps that I'm going to share with you. So I'm really excited for this episode. Before I dive into all of the steps on how to stop wanting, there is some really essential information for you to understand about where wants even come from and what the difference between a want and a need is, because understanding that is going to really help you to see whatever it is that you are currently chasing or that you feel really attached to right now, what the deeper need underneath of that is, so that you can learn how to meet those needs and stop wanting that thing so desperately. I just want to say that I am speaking from my own personal experience. I'm speaking from the realizations that I've had that have set me free and provided me with relief and clarity in my life. There are multiple truths that can exist at the same time, and if you don't resonate with something I say, this might not be your path. This might not be true for you, and it's okay for us to have different beliefs and strategies to help us to heal. The only thing that matters is how you feel. If this feels expansive to you and if it feels just aligned on a deeper level, it's likely that my strategy for learning how to let go of attachment and to stop wanting so desperately would actually be really helpful for you. If it's not clicking, if it's not resonating, that's okay. I personally believe that your truth is just as valid as mine, and if it's helping you to believe what you believe and to go on the path that you're on, stick to it and trust yourself. A want is really just an inner drive or craving for something that you believe will fulfill a desire or a need. It could be a thing, it could be a person, it could be an experience, it could be anything. But in your mind, you are convinced that this thing you are chasing is going to fulfill you. A need is to require something because it is essential. Essential meaning that it is absolutely necessary and required in your life. So that's the difference between a want and a need, but sometimes we can get these things really clouded and believe that we need the things that we're wanting, because wanting stems from unmet core needs. If you really think about it, when we are born into this world, we are all born with core needs. We have needs for safety, security. A core need is actually unconditional love, play, guidance, structure, loving structure, having caretakers that are authoritative with a good balance of being compassionate and listening, giving you freedom while also giving you that guidance and that solid foundation to begin building a stable life for yourself. We also really need people to model to us what connection to yourself looks like, what it looks like to trust yourself, what it looks like to model healthy boundaries, what it looks like to have a relationship with yourself. And to be honest, I don't know if there are many people that I know who had all of these core needs met. If you're thinking right now, oh my God, none of those needs were met for me, or maybe some were and some weren't, just know that you're not alone, and you don't need to compare your journey to anybody else's. You are fully capable now as the loving, wise adult that you are. I know you are loving and wise because you're here wanting to learn about this, actively putting yourself in this position of being on a healing journey and addressing these things that most people wouldn't want to address. So you should be proud of yourself just for being here. And if you had a lot of those core needs that weren't met, know that you are fully capable of meeting those needs, and you're going to experience a huge transformation when you do. But what happens when those core needs aren't met? We disconnect. We have to disassociate from ourselves, from our body. We have to put up walls. Like, for example, for me, something I had to do was put up a big wall around my heart, because my heart being so open and craving these certain needs to be met and then not getting them, it was too painful. And so what we do is we disconnect from ourselves. We dissociate from our bodies. We shut down our heart. We live in our head. It's too painful to live in the present moment. And so what happens at this part of your life is our consciousness is kind of sucked out of our body, sucked out of our heart, sucked out of our ability to be able to feel in our bodies and trust our intuition and really be present in the moment. Our consciousness really moves up into our head and is so preoccupied in the mind, because the mind is where the ego exists. And we're going to dive into how the ego starts to run our lives and really attach to these certain wants because our needs being unmet were too painful. But I just want to give a couple of examples as to how this could have shown up in your life or in your childhood. Maybe these examples won't be exactly on point, but you'll see little bits and pieces of yourself in it. So at the most basic and foundational level, maybe you grew up in a home where there was insecurity, a lack of safety and stability, where there wasn't enough nourishment for you. Growing up in a home where you don't know where your next meal is coming from, or you have a caretaker who doesn't know how to create inner stability for themselves and is constantly fighting for survival, will create that imprint in you. And you will constantly feel like you have to be doing more and fighting for your safety and security and survival. When we go into survival mode, the ego takes over and attaches to the things that we think we want. Let's say you had a caretaker who never learned how to unconditionally love and accept themselves, and they are highly, highly critical of you anytime you mess up or make a mistake, and maybe really loving towards you when you do things perfectly and do what you're supposed to do. Maybe then you wouldn't have that core need of safety, unconditional love, connection, and inner security met, and you would start to ask yourself, what am I supposed to do? Who am I supposed to be? What action am I supposed to take? And then you start living from your ego and attaching to those wants because of that, because you feel like you have to maintain this perfect image in order to receive love. Those are just a few ways that, are pretty common for this to show up, this lack of our core needs being met, leading to us perpetually wanting things. So if you can resonate with either of those examples, or if any of those core needs that I had listed haven't been met or weren't met in your childhood, then you likely have your consciousness really kind of up in your head and disconnected from your body, disconnected from your heart and what feels good to you. You're likely making decisions from your ego. So instead of addressing that core need for stability and security within yourself, your ego is going to convince you that you need that new job, or that you need to keep climbing the corporate ladder and finally prove yourself so that everybody thinks you're successful. Your ego is going to convince you that you need to manifest millions of dollars and finally create that massive online business and get that following. Your ego is going to convince you that you need all of these things that are representative of security and stability outside of you. Instead of addressing our core need for inner unconditional love, for having a solid relationship with ourselves, we will want constant validation and likes on social media. We'll want that perfect relationship to fill that gaping void of love within ourselves. Instead of addressing our core need to be able to trust ourselves and trust our intuition, we'll want somebody else to give us the answers. We'll seek outside of us and do what somebody else is doing in order to achieve their version of success. All the while, we'll feel so disconnected, even if we do get those things, because we are not actually addressing the core needs. And in this place, we end up completely confused and completely convinced that these things that we are wanting are the answer to our problems. It is so sneaky. And to be honest, like if you're in this place of constant wanting, me telling you this might not be enough. You might still have that voice in your head saying, yeah, that makes sense, but my circumstance is different. Michaela doesn't actually understand, and she doesn't know that if I just had this one thing that I would feel so much better. And I'm not here to deny the way that you feel. I'm not here to tell you that you're wrong, because I've been there and I certainly have things that I want that even still, with this level of awareness, I find myself on certain days just longing and wanting for these things. It is human and it is natural. And I am a big believer that multiple things can exist at the same time. Multiple truths can exist. Like those things, manifesting the $1 million or getting that relationship, it will likely bring you some happiness. You're not wrong. But the problem is that happiness is always so short-lived. And I've experienced this before, where I have this core deep need and I'm trying to fill it with something shiny, something that will finally make me look successful to the world, or something that I've wanted for a really long time. I finally get that thing and my fulfillment lasts for like a week, and then I'm on to the next thing. And the reason for that is because it is not actually meeting the need. And what is actually more fulfilling than you manifesting $1 million tomorrow, or finally manifesting that dream relationship, is to create security and stability within yourself, so that when you attract that money into your life, you feel empowered with it. You feel safe enough to keep it or to invest it or to use it for a good cause that you want to use it for, and to actually be mindful with it, rather than getting that money and feeling panic. Oh my God, I'm never going to manifest this again, or I could lose it all, or mindlessly spending it on all of these things that you temporarily want, and then it's all gone tomorrow. That's what happens when you manifest from that fragmented place within yourself, from that disconnected place within yourself. You get that momentary hit of happiness, sure, that will come, but it is often met with a major lesson to teach you to address that core need within yourself. Same thing with a relationship. If you've been in a relationship before, you know that just because you have that person doesn't mean that it's all smooth sailing and all healthy. The health of your relationship with somebody else is a direct mirror of the health of your relationship with yourself. So just because you have that arm candy or that person who looks so happy in your Instagram photos doesn't mean that that relationship will actually be fulfilling. It will only be fulfilling if you already feel fulfilled within yourself and you're not trying to fill a gaping hole with somebody else. And just to go on like a little tangent, when we try to fill a hole within ourselves with somebody else in our lives, or with, a job or whatever it is, we're actually so much more likely to put up with less than we deserve, because as soon as we create an attachment to that person or that thing, we will not feel safe enough to let go of it because it's filling a void within ourselves. So that's when people put up with cheating, they put up with abuse, they put up with bad behavior, they put up with a job that is draining the life out of them. It's when we have a gaping hole of a need unmet that we are filling with something else. And so that's not necessarily a path that you want to go down unless you want to learn that lesson the hard way. I'm here right now telling you that you are fully capable of meeting your core needs. And if you do this, life will blossom for you. It will become so much more magical and intentional, and you are going to feel so much more fulfilled in the things that you do attract in. So that's just kind of an answer to a question that I get a lot, is like, Michaela, you don't actually have to do shadow work or heal your relationship with yourself or do all this work on yourself to manifest. No, you don't. You can manifest whatever you want. But just because you want it doesn't mean that it's actually good for you. And when we don't know why we want certain things, it can lead us to really painful lessons in our lives. And I do want to make a whole video on like the balance around doing shadow work, doing self-healing and manifestation, and how you don't want to get lost in the shadow work. We'll get into that in that video. There's a balance here, but what I'm talking about around meeting your core needs is going to make you feel so fulfilled. And it's just such an important part of this process that if you choose to go there with yourself, you are going to change your life and you're going to really start to live on the highest timeline of your life. There are multiple timelines we can live on. One, maybe you get a lot of the things that you want, but you never actually feel present or fulfilled or grateful for extended periods of time. Two, higher timeline, you start to learn how to meet your own needs and you actually start to feel safe enough to be present and joyful and to actually start receiving in your life because you've let go of attachment. So let's get into those steps that I talked about in the beginning on how to move through this process. These 9 steps that I've laid out are going to be interchangeable and it's not going to be linear. But what they're going to do is they're going to build such a stable foundation. It's like, imagine that all of your core needs are a puzzle piece to a foundation for you to start to build on top of what you want to create and actually build in this lifetime that is like highest alignment with your soul. You're going to feel so fulfilled. You're going to feel so on fire. If we can build this foundation first, the rest of that is just going to be like step by step. It's going to feel so much better. So the first step to take is really just to observe your ego and start to understand that if your wants are taking over constantly and if you cannot let go of attachment to your desires, it's because your ego right now is in the driver's seat of your life. Your conscious awareness is not the same as your ego. Your consciousness is the one that is able to question your ego. It's the one that's able to listen to my voice right now and decide, is what she's saying resonating with me? Do I agree with this? You can also do that with your ego. And you can do that by recognizing that your ego is protecting you. It is protecting you from realizing that your core needs are not being met and maybe that they were not met in your life. It's protecting you from feeling that pain by distracting you, keeping you up in your head and fixated on these external goals. I would say that the best way to be consistently aware of your ego is to have moments of pause. And I'm not big on telling anyone that you have to sit in a 20-minute, 30-minute, hour-long meditation every single day. I think meditation is most effective throughout the day when you notice you're not present and you just bring yourself back into your body and check in with yourself. And often I will do this, like when I'm driving and I notice I'm distracted or something, I'm like, hey, Michaela, I'm here with you. And if my priority, right now, maybe your priority is becoming aware of your ego. If my priority was becoming aware of my ego in that moment, I would just notice, am I feeling a lot of pressure? Am I feeling a lot of attachment? Am I feeling a lot of stress, anxiety? That's probably coming from my ego's attachment to something going a certain way. And I'll say, that's okay, Michaela. It's okay that your ego took over a little bit in this moment, and I'm aware of it now, and now I'm in charge again. I'm the one in the driver's seat. It is as simple as that. You can flip your reality to a different timeline in a split second by saying, hey, my ego's taking over. Let me take a breath. Let me reconnect to myself and decide that I want to be the one in charge of my life, not my ego, not my wounded self, not the one protecting me from feeling my pain. I'm ready to really open my heart up to life again. The second step that I find to be really, really crucial as you go into this deeper work is to connect to a presence of unconditional love. This can be really anything for you. For many people, it's going to be God, source, the universe, your angels, a past loved one. Maybe you feel like you need a physical representation of unconditional love and presence in your life. So maybe that is a friend or family member that you talk to. Maybe it's a therapist. I highly recommend finding a mentor. I personally, my mentor, Siobhan, I always shout her out. That mentorship has helped me so much because she's constantly made me aware of when my programming, when my fear, when my ego is leading my life. So I would say those are kind of two different things, but can be one and the same, because having a physical mentor can help you to connect to the unconditional love within you, and having a presence of unconditional love that's always around helps you to feel empowered in every moment, even if you don't have a mentor yet or you haven't found someone that you really trust yet. So I would say those two are kind of one step. It's just finding a presence of unconditional love that you can physically call or call upon to support you as you do this deeper work. And only you know what will be right for you. Maybe you feel called to start doing this work on your own. Maybe you feel called to do it with a mentor, but just trust whatever you're getting around that. And if you don't know where to start, ask. Ask and you will receive. That it really is that simple, especially when you're wanting to do this soul level work. When you ask for something that is so in alignment with your growth and with also the collective healing of humanity, you will be supported in that. So trust that. The camera just fell down at 33 minutes and we're on the third step. So I'm taking that as a very good sign. But the third step is the step that's before you open the gates to these unprocessed emotions and to your pain body. The third step is creating safety within yourself, creating safety within your body, creating enough space to begin to feel again. Because with each of these unmet needs, there is the pain that you experienced of them not being met. So what do I mean by creating safety? I mean creating enough regulation and connection with yourself in order to allow yourself to process emotions without them really triggering you or sending you into a dark place. Creating safety is going to look a little bit different for everyone, but the kind of one size fits all approach is to learn how to find out what state your nervous system is in. If your nervous system is feeling dysregulated, the best way to create safety for yourself is to meet yourself where you're at. So for example, if you're feeling frozen, it's about beginning to create a relationship with yourself. My mentor taught me a lot about stimulating self-touch, having a conversation with yourself, giving yourself a hug, and saying, it's okay to be frozen. I know that this freeze response is me protecting myself, and I trust that my body knows what it's doing. But I want you to know that I'm here for you, Michaela. I'm here for you, and I love you. And whenever you feel ready to open up to me, I'm going to be here to listen. I'm going to be here to hold you. I'm going to be here to love you. If you're in a fight or flight response, allow that emotion to move through you. Meet yourself where you're at. Let yourself shake your body, beat up a pillow, get that frantic energy out. Don't try to just calm yourself down or talk yourself out of it, but really meet yourself where you're at. The point is recognizing where your nervous system is at and being able to meet that need is the same thing as a parent recognizing a child's need and giving them that thing. If you try to just snap yourself out of it or just distract yourself and move forward, then you are actively creating more disconnection with yourself, and that creates a lack of safety. So this is going to be about learning how to understand where your nervous system is at, and then also Even if you can't really determine that just yet, practice doing it. Look up resources to understand your nervous system more. But the most important thing is having a relationship with yourself enough to begin asking yourself, how am I feeling today? What's going on inside of me? So that's step 3, which is just creating safety within yourself by starting to have a relationship with yourself, which then leads to step 4, which is asking yourself, what are my unmet needs? Step 3 was asking yourself, what do I need in regard to my survival response? What am I needing to start to feel safe? Step 4 is, what are the unmet needs underneath of that? Am I needing to feel more unconditional love and acceptance of myself? Am I needing more play? Am I needing more nourishment? Am I needing to feel more connected to myself and others? Maybe I am needing a mentor. Maybe I am needing someone to hold me. It's about asking yourself what you need. And then step 5 is just starting to give yourself these needs, starting to blindly follow what you feel like you're getting intuitively, and know that it might take a while for you to start to actually feel better. And what I want you to remember is that these unmet needs are like little abandoned parts of you who were crying out. They were thirsty, they were hungry for these needs to be met, and they're neglected. So I got like an image of, I don't know if you've ever seen somebody like rescue a puppy who has been neglected severely. It takes a little bit for that puppy to trust you again, but you just keep reaching out your hand. You just keep trying and you say, it's okay. Take all the time you need. I'm here to love you. I'm here to protect you now. I'm here to keep you safe. And eventually, these needs will become clearer. What you need to do will become clearer. This part of you that is coming forward, this unmet need, is going to start to feel safer and safer to express those needs. And I often use like terminology, this part of you. I just mean the part of you that really needed that thing as a child that had to be abandoned and suppressed and ignored because it was too painful. So that part of you is going to start to come forward again when you give it patience, safety, and love. And this is not going to be a linear process. Step 6 is understanding that your mind might begin to distract you from these emotions by focusing on your manifestations again, by focusing on how much you want and need these certain things and distracting you from doing the real work that is going to actually help you to attract those things in the long term and actually keep them. So again, it brings you back to step 1 where you observe. You observe that your ego's taken over again, and that maybe that's happening because you started to open up, you started to feel. Maybe it was scary, maybe it was overwhelming, and that distraction came in again as a survival response. But again, you anchor yourself back in and remember that you are the one in control. Step 7 is just another way to start to build a relationship with yourself, which is self-trust. This is honoring your body's true needs. So maybe your body is actually really needing a lot of rest while you do this work. As much as you can, honor that need. It might seem like the exact opposite thing that you need to do to manifest what you want, but if you actually listen to your body, you're going to feel more connected to it again. Your heart's going to open up. Your intuition is going to open up. You're going to start to build trust with yourself, which is so, so essential in this life if you want to live the life that is most fulfilling for you. You want to be in your body. You want to have a relationship with your body. You want to feel present in the moment. And so the way that you do that is by building self-trust, by recognizing my body's needing rest for the 15th day in a row, and I'm going to give it to myself. I'm going to let myself take time off from those rigid routines or thinking that I always need to be so active. When you're doing this level of healing work, it does take a lot out of you. So listening to what your body needs is actually going to make this phase move a lot more smoothly, a lot more quickly, and it's just going to change your life if you can really start to listen to your body. I had a really hard time with that step because I was convinced that I was running out of time and I just needed to work harder and do more to manifest more. And I would always remind myself, this is a survival response, Michaela. I would connect to that presence of unconditional love, turn towards myself, ask my body, what would feel good for you, sweetheart? And I would say to myself, you have plenty of time and you are safe. You have plenty of time to fulfill your desires and your goals and your wishes in this lifetime. And what you are doing right now is actually the most important step to doing that. and you're safe to be here. You're safe to rest. You're safe to do something fun. Play and pleasure, again, is one of those core needs. So really start to listen to where you're being called. What feels right for you, not what does my head tell me to do. Step 8 is something I've been kind of doing throughout all of these steps, but so important. Hold yourself, love yourself, speak to yourself, see yourself like that innocent child who was born into this world inherently deserving of all of these core needs being met. Hold yourself like the loving parent that maybe you didn't have, or maybe that didn't meet all of those core needs for you. Hold yourself in that way throughout all of these stages. Don't judge yourself if you're in your ego. That's a trap. Hold yourself in everything and then bring it back to that level of consciousness within you that knows how to meet your core needs instead of chasing your wants. Step 9 is just to watch your life completely change and be so amazed that this was the work that you needed to do this entire time. You didn't need to do more. You didn't need to chase more. Step 9 is to notice how much louder your intuition gets, how much clearer you get on what your purpose is here on earth, how much more aligned you feel on a daily basis, how much more energized you feel when you're not fighting against yourself and mindlessly chasing things that you don't even really want. Step 9, you are going to realize half of the things that you were so obsessively thinking about, gripping onto, and wanting were not things you even wanted in the first place, and you are going to feel so free. You are going to feel so free, and you're going to feel clear on what you do want. When we move through these steps and prioritize them interchangeably on a daily basis, our life truly starts to feel the way that at a deep, deep level within us, we know it's supposed to feel. We know that we are meant to feel present and empowered and able to move forward in our lives and take the action that we know will fulfill us. But we get so clouded and so confused and end up on paths that we're not even meant to be on. When we actually do this work, we step into alignment. We start to feel so much clearer that we can trust, that we are supported. When we truly do this work, we actually see in real time, in real life, what everyone says, which is that your external world, your external reality is a reflection of your internal world. And so if you have all these internal needs that aren't met, you can bet that you're going to be wanting and craving and chasing and seeking endlessly. If we can't be present in our own bodies and physically connected to ourselves, we're going to have a hard time being connected to others. We're going to have a hard time really understanding why we're here on earth. And it's just going to feel kind of hopeless and pointless. And trust me, I have been there, and I still have moments where I'm there. But when you can really build this relationship with yourself, you are going to notice that things start to clear up and you start to feel so much more connected to desires and missions that are truly fulfilling for you. You're going to stop being so self-serving, and you're going to start to want to serve humanity more. And I'm not saying you can't have your own personal desires or things that you want to manifest in your life. Those things are going to come to you so easily, but you're going to want to use that abundance to really start to make a difference in the world. You're going to be overflowing with love. You're going to feel so much more connected to other human beings, and you're going to get a lot of your fulfillment by spreading more love, by spreading more abundance. My point is that this work is not only going to positively impact you, but it's going to positively impact humanity. And truthfully, I always like to think when I get to the end of my life, I'm not going to be proud that I manifested millions of dollars. I'm going to be proud of all of the people who I positively impacted, who I helped to connect to themselves more, or love themselves more, or have more fun, or laugh. And you're going to feel safe enough to actually connect to that instead of being so obsessed with certain self-serving manifestations, which again, there's no judgment there. It's okay to have personal wants and needs, but that is actually what's going to fulfill you, and you're going to have the safety within yourself to truly connect to that. So I hope that you found this video helpful. Please let me know if it resonated in the comments. If you have any realizations or questions for me, I would absolutely love to hear. If you did enjoy it or found it helpful in any way, please make sure to like and subscribe. I truly appreciate that so much. I love you guys, and I will see you in the next one.